Lock and Load podcast. My name is Josh, where we talk to you about Connecticut 2A issues. Today, we are talking about, once again, HB 7042, the Firearm Industry Responsibility Act. This is going to be my second to last video on this topic, at least as a general podcast. We are going to do one more podcast when Michelle gets back from vacation, which is coming up the end of this week. So it depends on when this video comes out and depends when you see the next one. They might be within the same week or so, but we'll be doing a deep dive onto that one, explaining everything. So I just want to cover some key points because it is now past the House, it is now past the Senate, and maybe by the time they're watching this video, it's probably been signed into law. Today is June 6, 2025. It has been 2 years since HB 6667, or what people call Satan 7, was passed into law, banning a slew of Connecticut others and a whole other cluster, which is how we started actually this podcast, why we started this podcast. So 2 years to the day, I do expect Ned to sign this bill today. We will see what happens, but I don't know. It's just a gut feeling on that one. So this may be signed into law by the time you're watching this video or it comes out. It may not be yet, but it will get signed into law. And why will it get signed into law? Well, it passed the House with flying colors. It passed the Senate with flying colors. Attorney William Tong wants this bill. This is his pet project. This is CAGV's pet project. And now it's being talked about on a federal scale. So Chris Murphy, Blumenthal are now talking about revoking PLCAA, which is what this bill violates in general. So let's talk about the bill first. So I don't agree with the way this is worded, but I want to express it the way it's worded. So it holds the firearm industry accountable. This law allows state of Connecticut, local governments, and individuals to sue gun companies, that is manufacturers, sellers, and marketers, if they don't act responsibly. They must prevent illegal sales to criminals or straw purchasers, avoid advertising guns in a dangerous way, maybe encouraging violence, follow state and federal laws, and stop selling guns to other companies who break the laws. If they don't, they can be sued for damages, money, court orders to stop bad practices, and legal fees. So let's talk about Section 1 here in this little breakdown that I did here. So prevent illegal sales. Guess what? It's illegal to sell a gun to somebody who can't possess it. Straw purchasing is already illegal federally and at a state level. Straw purchasing, if you don't know this, is when you buy a gun for somebody who cannot possess a firearm. That is a federal crime. That is illegal. And to criminals, it's the same concept. You're buying a gun for somebody who can't possess it. That is a straw purchase. Now, who approves your background checks in the state of Connecticut? Does the gun store? Or does the State of Special Licensing and Firearms Unit of the Connecticut State Police approve it? It's the second one there. The SLFU approves your background checks. They are the issuing authority. In the state of Connecticut, we are what's called a point of contact state. So let's take Florida, for example. In Florida, you come into a store, you're a resident of Florida, let's say you have their permit too, so that eliminates their waiting period, and you want to go in there and you want to buy a Glock 19. Cool. The store in Florida, you fill out your 4473, your federal paperwork. They contact NICS directly and run your background check and get an approval or a denial or a delay. In Connecticut, we cannot contact NICS. We have to contact the SLFU, who then contacts us NICS. So they are what's called the issuing authority, or a point of contact state. And then NICS gives them the approval number, then they give us the approval number. And that's how the system works. That's how Connecticut system's designed. Is it good? Is it bad? That's for you to decide. But that right there should put liability on the state of Connecticut. They're the ones that ran your background checks to begin with, right? They approved you for a pistol permit, your local authority. So your local police department approved you for a pistol permit. Then the state of Connecticut approved you for a pistol permit. And then every time you buy a gun, the state of Connecticut has to approve you for a pistol, or for that authorization for that background check. So if I'm going to be held liable and Glock is going to be held liable and Lipsy's, my wholesaler, is going to be held liable, why isn't the state of Connecticut going to be held liable? Advertising guns in a dangerous way. So what if we, on the podcast here, we started doing drills, right? Teaching you guys how to do different kinds of shooting drills. And maybe one of them was like breaching a door, right? So like the Mossberg 590 RM, the MagFed one, it's pretty cool if you guys haven't seen it yet. That one's has a breacher, a break on the front of it. So that means you can jam it into a door frame and fire, and it'll break the hinge. So if I'm showing you how to do that, does that encourage violence? I don't know. I don't think it does, but maybe the state of Connecticut does. Maybe a bad judge does. Follow state and federal laws. Well, if you're not doing that already, you probably shouldn't be a gun store, and stop selling guns to other companies who break the rules. Now, we all in the gun industry in Connecticut are probably aware of some certain stores out there that skirt the line, have that razor thin, is this gun legal or not? I don't personally do business with them, and I recommend customers don't do business with them, because at the end of the day, you're the one catching the felony. But plenty of people do. There's a few stores out there, maybe a handful, that skirt that line. And I tend to err on the side of caution. And I like to explain laws to people just because of the podcast in general. So does that mean I can't do any business with those stores that I suspect, not proven because they're still open, that I suspect are doing something wrong? According to this, it does. So number 2, I guess I probably agree with this second section I'm about to explain, which is stricter gun permitting and eligibility rules. So in Connecticut, as a Connecticut resident, there are 11 disqualifying misdemeanors, and any felonies will prevent you from getting a pistol permit in Connecticut, or a long gun permit, or anything like that. And what the statutes were, they didn't necessarily correlate to other states' issues. So in this bill, this is probably maybe an okay part of the bill. They expanded that to compare the charges to other states. So it raises the bar to get one. It requires more up-to-date training. So it kind of redid 6667 and saying like the certificate must be done in 2 years. So it also disqualifies people for certain misdemeanors within the last 8 years, and it used to be 20 years. So they actually brought that threshold down a little bit. It changed the mental health hospitalization requirements, restraining and protective orders, gun seizure orders, being under 21 for handguns, and you must be, if you're in the United States illegally. Those can all disqualify you. You can only apply once a year too. Another part it added here was discharging of firearms. So firing a gun that could hurt someone or damage property is now clearly a criminal offense, unless you were doing it in self-defense to protect yourself or someone else. It updated hunting a little bit too. The state can still regulate hunting, but it cannot ban self-defense with a gun while hunting. It still can limit hunting near buildings, require permits, set a hunting season, weapon types, bag limits, protect public safety and private property. Other parts of this bill that little cheat sheet I wrote up doesn't have is it bans or makes illegal firearms that are readily or easily convertible. So what does that mean? So Gun Guru Todd, if you haven't checked out his channel, definitely should go check out Gun Guru. He broke down this 7042 as well, and he had an interesting thought process on it. And I think I share the same thought process, but I'm going to expand on it. So his thought process was easily convertible. That means they're going after Glocks, right? Because Glock switches are federally illegal. I think we've talked about this before in a previous podcast, that they're illegal, right? You cannot convert a handgun into a machine gun legally in the United States. You just can't do it. Possession of that is a crime. So is this going to ban all Glocks? Are Glocks going to disappear from Connecticut because they're easily or readily convertible in the opinion of the state of the Attorney General? I think that's what this bill is designed to do. Now, is it going to ban all Glocks? Well, we were talking in the store the other day, and you cannot, they don't make Glock switches for your micro compacts. So I don't think this affects 40-48s, 43s, 42, and maybe some bigger calibers like the 10s or the 20s, the 10 mils and the 4s. But this directly will affect anything that's a 9 mil, or I believe also a 40 cal as well, because the slides are the same, which means those switches should theoretically, and I don't know, but theoretically they should work. But on the thicker guns like the 5s and the 10 mils, those slides are completely different. So does that ban your Glock 17, your Glock 47, 49s, 45s, 19s, 26s, 19Xs? I'm sure I'm missing a model or two in there. Your 34s, that's the long slide one. Anything that could be converted? Okay, well, let's go down this path too. What about fixed mag ARs or fixed mag any guns? What's the definition of easily converted? Is it those, right? Now we use comp mags in our store here, and we epoxy that little locking plate closed, just as like an extra liability protection on our end. So you cannot remove this mag. Could you break it? Possibly, right? If you did that, you'd definitely be committing a felony. You'd make an illegal assault weapon. But when there's a will, there's a way, right? What about just stripped AR-15 lowers or AR-10 lowers, right? We sell those because you can make them into a few options, right? You can make them into a bolt action AR-15. We sell those now. You can make it into a Cali key system, which is kind of like a bolt action, or a fixed mag, obviously, or a rim fire, right? A 22 or a 17. Those are a little expensive, but they're out there. So are those now illegal because like you could just not do that? What about Tippmann M422s? Now, those are basic AR-15 lowers that are missing a few, like it doesn't have the buffer spring and that kind of stuff. But could you convert that to a regular AR-15? Maybe. If you did that, it'd be illegal already under existing law. So I don't think that people really understood how bad this law is and how it's going to affect gun stores, how it's going to affect your rights. This is probably as bad as SB 1160. I'm not the only one to say that either. I believe State Senator Rob Sampson has said that as well, along with a few others, that this bill is bad. This bill is designed to take away your constitutional rights. It's designed to close gun stores. And this is exactly what the anti-gun lobby and the anti-gun politicians wanted. This was their wish list. And while they say, oh, this is the same as like 9 other states, we don't think it is. I think this is worse. I think the language is worse in this. And I unfortunately think you're going to see the ramifications of this bill happening in 2026 because this bill doesn't go into effect until October 1st. Once Ned signs it into law, which will be any day now, if not already happened by the time you're watching this video. So we're going to do a deeper dive on this video with Michelle here when she comes back from her vacation, and we will dive into this bill, every part of this bill, to understand and to pass that information along to you guys so you guys can understand this bill and talk to your legislators. One other thing I want to add on at the end of this topic here is kind of our upcoming podcasts. So we are planning on getting a good amount of politicians on this summer to talk to you about Connecticut gun rights and gun issues. The governor's race is coming up in, I believe that'll be 2026 of November. And so we are getting a candidate for lieutenant governor onto the podcast. That is definitely happening. And we'll see who else we can get on here to talk to you about how they stand on gun issues. We're also working on getting, his name's Jonathan. He's running against Johanna Hayes in the 5th district. We're going to try to get him on along with some other, state level politicians and talk to you just about Connecticut 2A issues. And then we'll have some other topics once Michelle gets back and we get in a full swing of podcast again. So if you have ideas for us, comment below or send us a message. Tell us in store. We always like to get feedback from you guys telling us, how great we're doing or how horrible we're doing. I don't know. Other than that, my name's Josh. I will see you guys next time. Like and subscribe below. Thanks. Bye.